Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Okay, good morning. So the long and short of it is that we've had a really tight range all night in ZN, and there's not much point in touching it right now because there's going to be PPI in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to eat. We're going to do PPI. And grab the links. Let's look at Bitcoin here really quick. It looks like they did take a little bit of a dive last night, but it's going to take a lot more than that to get to the lows of the year, but it sure looks like they're gunning for it. Okay, so let's grab the links. Oh dear. Well, it looks like something crashed on me. That's great. Man. Okay. The live dashboard was seizing up. Okay. So... okay. So... that's funny. Peter's been around for a bit. Let's give him regular permission. There you go. Of course, bonds do well on FOMC day, Peter. The whole concept of how bonds are priced is based almost completely on the decision that the Federal Reserve is going to make today. It is literally people betting on what the Federal Reserve is going to say today. So yeah, we are seeing a little bit of action on the open there, so we could get some interesting things. That's weird. Twitch says the stats that I'm offline, but I'm live, and it's showing me that I'm live. Kind of funny. Well, people are selling into the PPI. Oop, let's bring up the stream guide too, and then yeah, I'm gonna eat.
Bonds month expected at 0.2%, 0.2%. Final demand year expected 0.3 expected. So from Canada will be internet price in 0.2% year prior 5.6.
Okay, well, we've seen a little bit of selling coming in here since the open, going into the announcement. So people are definitely betting on short, and perhaps that the numbers will be higher inflation numbers than expected. So like a 0.4 and a 0.3 with the core. I think that it's almost always 0.2, and it being them saying that it's going to be 0.3 would be quite a bit. Oh, actually, it's not always 0.2. It was 0.4 a couple of times. So, I don't know. This number might not necessarily surprise us. But I think that if it comes in line under expectations or in line with expectations, we could have a small move up. And the move might be a little muted because we have FOMC a little bit later. But this number does tend to have, like, go big too. I'm going to be careful because I'm feeling a little tired today. So I'm going to be cautious about what I take. See an iceberg there at 110. Okay. There's the pull.
5% for month-to-month. Ex-food and energy month-to-month 0.3%.
0.5.
Demand year-on-year 3.1% with energy 2.4. Looking to Canada, that was month-to-month at 1% with year-on-year at 4.5%.
Okay, so it was
US data that was PPI final demand month-to-month
much higher than expected.
Expectations of 0.3%. Ex-food and energy month-to-month at 0.3% again ahead. Expectations. Ex-food energy and trade at 0.1%. That was below expected 0.2%. Year-on-year final demand 3.1%, beating expectations of 0.8. Ex-food and energy at 2.4, again ahead of expectations. And from Canada, the Internet Home Price Index month-to-month 1%, year-on-year at 4.5%.
Okay, so they were expecting it to be higher than expected. I know they're expecting the expectation, but they were selling into it, and then it was quite a bit higher than expected. I've seen much stronger reactions off of that before, so I'm a little surprised that it's not just total zany crazy down, but I do think it's a good short. They broke an iceberg there. Sellers somewhat insistent right here at her price, but I do think they might try and pressure us. I moved my target down because there's a big order that showed up here at 06. There's also a big order above us in ZF showed up when we went down. Let's see what they do. I don't want to like overstate the number, but I do think that there's a decent chance that we're going to break the low now. But the market reaction to this so far is not like super crazy, is it? Okay. So that was them. I think that was them trying to pressure us out.
All about it. 1,000 vehicles in North America alone.
Everybody asleep today? Okay, so I still feel really confident about my reading of the news. PPI was much hotter than expected. That is a sell, and we got an okay price. So I'm just going to try and be really patient here. Okay, so they were able to tick up there for a moment, and 9,000 iceberg at 11. Okay, they ticked up through it again. And they actually held the sellers trying to push it too. That's really interesting. Producer prices surge at fastest rate since 2011. That's how big of a deal that was. It looks like that the 5-year is just kind of there in its range. Um, Prices for chicken eggs fell 31.2%. Prices for guest room rental fell 4.4%. So there was some deflation in there. Why chicken eggs? Okay, so ZF just came back. The thing I'm concerned about now, I still think that this is a short. But if ZF does like a pullback, that might be bigger than our risk. Okay. Okay, so that was a pretty aggressive hit there. Like the 3,000 contracts just went off all at once on in ZF. And they hit it again. They're not hitting 047 yet. Not hitting 110 yet.
America up. Back up.
Okay.
Fight for.
They're not all ticking at once. What I see there. And they tick back up. I don't know. It was kind of weird. It's like nobody wants to play. Yeah, this is well into suspicious territory now. So I have seen it before where news like this come out and you don't get the reaction until like 30 minutes later. I've also seen it where there was some other kind of piece of news that was lurking and then it comes out and you're like, oh. So I suppose that's a possibility too. We did get an okay downtick there, but we're going to need the 5-year to push past 047. But I think I'm just gonna I have it set and I'm just gonna let it do its thing. Like it's super hard to be doing that right now, but I feel like that's what I gotta do. Not sure it looks like back to pivot leg. All of a sudden we're back to it's just robots trading it almost. Like they're at 11.5. Wow, Okay, that was a really aggressive buy there at 12. They got knocked back down pretty quickly though. That's good. I mean, ZF did actually take a little bit higher there. Not actually seeing like significant cumulative delta long, but like it's weird. In ZN, you did see actually some long positions. I'm hoping that we get one of these. I don't know. I still have a few bites of food, and I'm just letting this go, so I'm just gonna eat. Very suspicious, although I do think they're going to stop me out. Yeah, when I first took it, and they were looking down there, and I did get 2 ticks out of it at one point, but it should go a lot more than that. And of course, now it's gotten 3 ticks against us. They are actually looking like they want to stop us out, but they actually didn't. Um, anybody's guess, I think, which way they go, but I think that the long side is suspicious. Um, so I kind of feel like, at the very least, um, that the news should keep one out when it, the order flow was kind of saying long, and we did get, some market buy orders through there. So although it looks like that's maybe turning around now. So that was a little. Now they're putting up pathetic bids and offers at 12.5. That's kind of funny. That we've gotten up here, and now they're saying, we don't really want to trade it. I mean, last month when we got PPI, we had like a 1% difference between the expected number and the actual number. And I recall getting a really big move off of it, heading into the FOMC. Like last time it was ahead of the FOMC. We got like a big move off of it. Like that was the move, and then the FOMC was like nothing. And now today it's like the opposite. Big number. Nobody cares. So are they waiting for something in the FOMC meeting that ends up mattering more than the inflation numbers or something? Because there's really only 2 possibilities in a situation like this, in my opinion. Situation 1 is this is all a trick, and they're trying to trap people into going long before they really start pushing it down. Or B, our understanding of the number is wrong. We'll say my understanding of the number in the news and what it means is wrong. Okay, well, they have absorbed quite a bit at 12.5. We're actually seeing absorption on all 3 of them. So could be potentially a reversal. China trade wars back Trump to slap Beijing with tariffs on Friday. ZTE deal on verge of collapse. The Federal Reserve is expected to raise the target range for its Fed fund rates. Here are some things investors will be looking out for. Okay, they ticked it down. Well, they didn't tick it down, but they definitely sold into that. But it held. I have to say I don't like how that one developed. They should have been able to push through that 12. Okay, so they hit into 12.5, and they weathered that one pretty well, and now the bid is weak. The bid pulled, in fact. And ZF ticked it down. ZB ticked down. The 10-year has not ticked it down yet. Pretty good chance that I think it will. If I didn't already have a position, I think I would be selling 12. It would really tip it though, because like sisters are definitely pushing it down, and yet for some reason the 10-year doesn't want to go yet. Okay, they went. They didn't offer a whole lot. That's kind of weird. That's really weird. I think you may, yeah, I feel that its behavior at the moment increases the probability that the FOMC is going to be like really violent. Like one reason to stay out would be because you're expecting really significant things out of the FOMC meeting. So it's now been 30 minutes. Okay, they finally sold it, but ZF actually took another tick down for that to happen. And I'm not seeing aggressive hitting into 11.5 yet. Nobody's bought, but and they ticked up again. They didn't hold it. My gosh. I mean, I'm just a spectator at this point. I'm not going to touch it. I feel like at this point that, I mean, like, this is really frustrating. It should be moving down and it's not. And, man, it's just, the action is just really bizarre. So I don't think that I'm in a place where I can really manage this trade. So I had my risk set, and if they stop me out, they stop me out. Well, they've been sitting there at 13 offer, and nobody's traded it. Okay. I mean, that would have put that right there. Them ticking up to 13, nobody buying 13, and then them selling it. That would normally be a really, really good short. Well, not a really, really good short. Let me rephrase. That's a short-term reversal signal that we've noticed has worked fairly well in this market as of late. I've definitely seen situations where it tick up and nothing trades there, and then the next time they tick up to it, they plow right through it. And I don't know what the long-term statistics on that one would be. Donald Trump nominated for Nobel Peace Prize. Well, well, well. So I guess if I can, since we're not going to touch this, maybe to distract ourselves for a little bit, this whole North Korea thing, the way that the news is treating it and the comments that people are making, I think, are just out of this world. Like, the thing is, we don't know how this is going to turn out, right? There is one scenario where maybe this really is the real deal. He wants to denuclearize. This is all going to work out. And Donald Trump is going to look really, really good coming out of this, right? On the other hand, it could be, like many times in the past, just kind of like they're playing for it so that they can get their money, and then they're going to go right back to saber rattling. We've seen that happen more than once. And I see all of these pundits and stuff trying to get out in front of this, like they think they know what's going to happen. And I'm just like, you guys realize how stupid you're going to look if you're wrong, right? Like, your reputation will never recover from this if you're wrong. It's just... And yet everybody is just, climbing over each other trying to position themselves. I'd say it sure looks good for him right now, though, doesn't it? He's gonna get a Nobel Prize for it, maybe. Unbelievable. Okay, so there was multiple attempts to clear the bid in the 5 year there. You see all those magenta prints on my tape. That means that they took everything that was bid. So there's an iceberg at 0.5 in the 5 year. Okay, so they finally got it that time, but look, it took 3 orders to clear it. Still, they all ticked down. That's good, and they all have pretty good offers on them now, so that's good. Donald Trump renews his Twitter assault on OPEC, pushing the case for lower oil prices. Okay, there was another good downtick. Not super. I mean, the offer is not like super promising. And buyers are trying to hold it here now, too. That's kind of interesting.
Agriculture, the hike not justified by the macroeconomy. He passed through not enough for a select rate hike.
So we're kind of getting this strange situation where the FYT is flattening and the knob is steepening. I mean, it's a very, very slight, but that's what's happening, and the end result is that the 10-year is a little bit higher than the other two, which is unusual. You see, I haven't reset it now since the top of the pivot, so I reset it at a really good spot, and the 5-year and the 30-year are both 2 ticks lower than the 10-year. I don't know if that means that there's a good spread trade in that. Like, sell the 10 and buy the 30 is probably how I would play it, or do a but what do you call it? A butterfly or whatever. But sure seems a little odd to me. Okay, ZF ticked up. Now ZF and ZN are in line. ZB is not. ZB is close to its low. ZB actually touched its low pivot. It's where the last pivot was. I don't know. The uptick way too easy. Fate will be sold when equities opens. Could be. Equities is a tough one. I think, based on the longer term tape, that we could have a move up in the E-mini, but I think you're more likely to get a bunch of chop. Oh, where did somebody deleted their comments? I thought it was a good comment, Peter. Why'd you delete it? So quiet. I should check my comments because I said a bunch of stuff. No news is no better than a line in the chart 50-50. Participation is what matters. Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's 50-50. I think that you can make it better than random guess about which way it's going to go. But it's not a for sure thing. We definitely have I mean, I'm doing it right now, right? The inflation was hot, we should be moving down. And that's definitely true, but just because it should be and just because it's really frustrating and bizarre that we're not moving down doesn't mean that it has to. There can be other things at play. And it can just be, you know, the major players don't care what the number says, you know? Okay, there's the uptick again. So what I'm seeing now is that they're stuck in a range around 12. Kind of interesting how this is something that I've never noticed before. But you see here on the Vista chart in the 5-year, price has moved up. As we moved up, liquidity was left behind underneath of us. And usually it's the case that we kind of leave like a wake behind us. Isn't that interesting? And you can see very clearly bids below us. 24, 24, 24, 27. And then up here 20, 19, 17, 18. Sources inside the Department of Justice Antitrust Division tell Fox Business that lawyers were working all night to develop a response to the stunning defeat in the AT&T case. Their likely response is that the government will appeal. Good. I think they should appeal. I can't believe that that got approved. I was super surprised. Hey, downtick. 3 or 4 hikes and you get a 50 basis point inverted 210 curve. Yeah, that's interesting. I think that may be, though, why a lot of people have been making these predictions that the Federal Reserve might back off on certain things. Like if they're worried about an inverted curve, then they might say, let's halt the pace of the roll-off on our asset purchasing program, for instance. I forget what exactly they call it. Yes, looks positive to alligator for the open. Delta in the 10-year has been flat for the past hour now. Not hour, probably more like 40 minutes. It's putting me to sleep, guys. I had a hard time falling asleep last night. I should have just come and opened up the 10-year Treasury and watched the overnight session. That would have put me to sleep. Because this is dead as a doornail. I am seeing it looks like they're supposed to be making their projections in the FOMC meeting and stuff, and it seems like this meeting is a little bit more significant than the other ones. It really does look to me like they're saying there's no reason to trade this until the FOMC meeting. Well, the 30-year is still selling. Tucker's not going to trade FOMC. Keep myself awake. Donald Trump should tweet something. That'll keep us awake. We save a fortune by not doing war games as long as we are negotiating in good faith, which both sides are. So something he tweeted much earlier. That was another one that I found was really weird, was that they came in and they said no more war games. Because clearly, the summit almost didn't happen because they did those war games and North Korea freaked out about it. I'm sure it is important for the readiness of the troops and everything, but like if we're negotiating and it really makes them that upset, like, don't you think that suspending them for a few months while they're negotiating on the possibility of world peace, with the possibility of world peace, don't you think that's worth it? But like some people are like super freaking out about it. Okay, there was a little flip in the level 2 there in the 10-year. I'm actually seeing 12 pull. Not that many orders going through, but 12 is pulling. And then they hit it, and it fights. A bunch of news coming through here, but nothing. Paul Krugman talking about how wages have not gone up. I don't think that you're really going to see that until the tax cuts have been in for a year. Okay, so there you have, the bids are weak. When they try and hit it, it fights back. They hit it, it fights. Not a lot of people looking to sell it here. They really have to coax them into it for some reason. Hey Waddle, these ranges are infuriating. Okay, there's a damn good down tick. They put some size on that one, on the down tick. And I'm seeing, so something going on. Oh, the E-mini is opening, that's what's going on. Oh my gosh, that whole thing was the 10 minutes before the E-mini opens up that I was almost falling asleep during. It's only been 10 minutes? Jeez. And there, the E-mini ticked down a little bit, and the Treasuries immediately ticked up. Okay, what was your signal for selling 11? So first of all, what I saw was people positioning themselves short going into the PPI news. So I felt that you would get a better chance of a big move if the news was dovish, but it was not. But it also outperformed by quite a bit. Like we were looking for 0.3 and it came out to be 0.5, which was I mean much bigger difference than some of the numbers we've had in the past that have moved PPI. But like I said, it was in line with the way that people were positioning, so that kind of limited it a little bit. But I thought that we would really bring in new people in. So when that happened, we saw people selling 11, and there was an iceberg there, and there was about a 6K iceberg there at 11, and they were taking it very tepidly, but I saw it and decided to try and take it as she goes. So it did go, and they did go down about 2 ticks. No duh, Moody's. No duh. 3 to 4. Okay, like what everybody's been saying all year. Anyways, so we took it, and we got a good 2 ticks down. And then, I don't know, it kind of ranged up. I think maybe you could make an argument that I should have gotten out at like break even, or, long before this. But kind of what happened was when it started doing that, it just was really suspicious to me, for starters, and I just don't feel like could really manage the trade. So I decided to just set my risk and let it do its thing, and so that's what I'm doing. So if they stop me out, then I'm probably not going to take a trade until after FOMC. Yep. So the well, sounds like a hunt for liquidity. I definitely feel. Okay, that's an interesting comment. Yeah, look, they're actually going to do it this time? Not quite. I think that they might just stop us out here. Anyways, yeah, now they stopped us out. Okay. Um, I definitely feel like that the market is hunting for liquidity. But the thing is that when they sold it down, it was kind of rangy. It was kind of like people not taking shots more than anything, you know? And so I think that people just not wanting to trade it definitely seems to be a bigger factor. But you can see it here on the. Can you see it in the 5 year? Notice how as we moved up, we left a bunch of liquidity below us. If they want liquidity, they just need to take it back to 055. There'd be plenty of people willing to buy it there. There's plenty of people sitting there on the DOM, have been sitting there on the DOM since it was last at 05 half. It just doesn't seem to care. So it didn't actually trade up through 13, which is kind of funny. Well, okay, that was a little better. If you want to buy, there will be plenty of people stopping out and trying to sell the breakout at 09.5 and lower. Well, man, that at the moment, especially with the selling that we just saw in ZB, looks an awful lot like they were just able to trigger my stop and then there actually will go down. That would be the ultimate irony if that's what happened, right? Maybe those OPEC founders shouldn't be funding terrorism and causing chaos all over the Middle East. Some things are more important than low oil prices. What a bitch. Like, isn't it crazy? So my stop is 1200. So they pulled the level 2 to under 1200, and it was like something like 100 orders went through, and then they ticked back down. So the volume stop is supposed to be there to kind of prevent you from getting stopped out just from having a touch. But here we have a situation where we got stopped out anyways, and probably would have preferred not to have been stopped out. They could still go up and trade up through it. I mean, at this point, I'm not sure I can really predict what it's going to do. The E-mini took a little bit of a dive there, and that's when we got stopped out, and now it's kind of poised to possibly go higher. If you want to buy it, there will be plenty of people stopping out and trying to sell the breakout at 09.5 and lower. Well, I think what you're trying to say, and what I've been concerned about, is that there are large players that want to push bonds down, but they want to get filled and so forth, and so they've kind of been holding off and not wanting to do anything and pretend like, you know, oh, it's a buy, and then they let the buyers do their thing. They know that there's not going to be that many, so they exhaust them, and then they just kind of slowly pull the bids out from underneath of them. And I kind of see some indications of that. Like people bought it up, and then you keep seeing these bids look kind of weak. But then it doesn't actually cause people to sell. See, I'm sitting here like just really mad that I got stopped out. I still want to be in this trade. I still want to be short, or I want to go in and get short 12.5. And the action is, though, extremely range bound overnight. They move into the news, but then after a really, really hot number, no real action, extremely range bound there as well. I think that based off of that, at the very least, we'd have to say that we have to go to range bound strategies, and that the only thing I could really do is I probably shouldn't be selling at 12 or 15, 11 half. I should be selling at 12 half or above, because of where this volume profile is. What do you think about this guy's tweet? How come it doesn't list it out? But so we're gonna have to click on it. Normally the Discord just says what the tweet was. Oh, we're not allowed to see it. You're gonna have to copy and paste it because you have to follow him. Oh wait, can I just follow? Oh, he has to accept the request, so I can't see the tweet. Yep. When was this? That was like 2 days ago. Oh, I tweeted the other day that a lot of people think that 6,000 is going to be support in Bitcoin because it's the cost of mining, and I've been saying that they're probably going to touch it and they're going to blow right through it because we are still massively overbought here at these levels. And I tweeted that on the 11th, and this guy said that I was wrong, because if you look here on the 11th, here was where they here was the 11th. They kind of went up, kind of went down. Now we're a little bit lower. So he's saying that, oh, it was support because what? Because of this? Okay. Like, let it work itself out. I'm like, seriously, like 95% chance that they are going to break 6,000 in Bitcoin. That's how confident I am in that call. I know it sounds crazy to call something with that much confidence in Bitcoin with something that's so random, but I'm telling you, that's what the model says, and the model has been so ridiculously reliable. Okay, so they're actually getting some action here now in the 10-year. Although it's hard to really say what the deal is. The E-mini bought up a little bit and then came back down. It looks to me like the E-mini is having the same problems. Watch CLF, watch the build and grabs here. Every rotation, there will be pain unless you're on the other side. What do those colors mean? Orders in size smaller, the darker. So are you saying if you apply that to ZN, that would probably move higher? I think that's what that is intended to mean, yeah. I don't know. It's really hard for me to understand that chart even with that explanation. So the darker the smaller the orders are. But does that mean that how much volume was actually in that candle or what? Wake up punchy. Yeah, did you see the tweet where Donald Trump called Robert De Niro punchy? I wasn't sure if Donald Trump was gonna reply to that one or not, but he took it on. Because remember, he never acknowledged yeah, Eminem, the rapper Eminem, and I think the reason why he never replied to Eminem is because he doesn't think he would win that war. He thinks that Eminem is more popular, but that's why I think I think he determines whether he's going to reply or not. Is does he actually think that his brand and his popularity is stronger than the person and the idea criticizing him? So he clearly thinks that he is a bigger celebrity than Robert De Niro, or that Robert De Niro has more to lose. I've been seeing news where they're trying to go after him, but it's kind of funny to watch, I think. There has been a lot of volume now at 12.5. Almost as many orders as at 12 now, and before it was a much bigger thing. So oh, not a directional call, just a discussion of what he is getting at here. So this is what I think. Let me pull it over so that those watching can see what we're talking about. Here's his picture. So this guy posted a picture, and an explanation is that the orders in size, the smaller, the darker. So I think what they are saying is that there was a lot of white down here, which means that there was a lot of liquidity through here, and they jumped out, and now since they jumped out of the liquidity, the orders have been small and they've been continuing to push up, which means that they're going to have to continue to push up until they run into liquidity. I think that's what he's saying. So it's just like what you were saying before. You're gonna, you know, it's a lot easier for it to move up, essentially, is how I read that. If I'm reading his chart right. Okay, now that we've been standing up here, some of these orders that were down here, way down at the bottom, like 042, 045, are gone. See that? It's they've come up and they're starting to consolidate here around 055. Seems like that 055 level is the key one. So could it be that these were people that were short and these were their profit targets and they've left it on this whole time? And then when it came up to here, at around the same time that I got stopped out, some of the 5-year traders started giving up and pulling their orders or moving them up because they're afraid that they're never going to get filled. I'm just like laying out theories because I've never really noticed this as sort of a thing before. You can see it in the 5-year too, where we came down to this level right here, the 27, and the liquidity has just stayed there since we've moved up. So I feel like that's basically trapped shorts looking to exit. It's touched 13 enough times that I'm okay with having been stopped out. There's another piece of news I've found really interesting is the ZTE deal. So apparently they done some pretty nasty things in the past, and so they were going to get banned. And then the administration made a deal with them where they pay a fee and a couple of other things, and the Senate is like really mad about them doing that. And I just don't understand why is this company so important, and why are they so adamantly opposed that this company should basically go out of business is what the guys in the Senate are saying. Is it just a political play that because Donald Trump stepped in and did something about it, and they're trying to push the whole Russia collusion, you're friendlier with China and Russia than you're our allies sort of a thing? Or is there like actually a legitimate reason that this company should just go out of business? Oh, there you go. I would have been cleared. That was kind of curious because when they traded 13.5, can you see them here? That can't even see them anymore. Like a few orders did go off at 13.5, right? But they were not stopped, so they were not there immediately. Okay, right? See, we ticked up, and they didn't hit 13.5 immediately. So like people are not stopping out here. But there was some people that when we ticked up, after a little while, they thought, for whatever reason, they were going to buy, whether they were exiting or taking a new position, but only after it had ticked up for a bit. So we see that we're going to get more people to go in because they're putting pressure on it now, but people aren't jumping over. You see that? So they are putting pressure on because the E-mini is kind of eyeing lower again. but it's like super tepid, so okay, a couple more 10 went through that time. Oh, Donald Trump did tweet something 26 minutes ago. So funny to watch the fake news, especially NBC and CNN. They are fighting hard to downplay the deal with North Korea. 500 days ago, they would have begged for this deal. Looked like war would break out. Our country's biggest enemy is the fake news, so easily promulgated by fools. I'm going to be interested to see how they respond to that one. Are they going to respond to it, or are they going to ignore it? Now, the top thing on r/news is Trump gaslights the American public about North Korea's nuclear weapons. He's gaslighting them because he says that they're not a nuclear threat anymore. Yes, that is exactly why. Yes, they're saying, well, they haven't gotten rid of their nukes yet. So he's gaslighting us, guys. Because he's optimistic about the future, he's gaslighting us. I don't really want to hit that 13.5 either, do they? The problem, though, is that this whole thing has been bubble up, hasn't it? I mean, look at that. That's what you think he means? Well, if that's the case... I don't think I'm completely following what you're saying yet, Tucker. Because the small timers bought the breakout above that old high. Well, so here's something that I find interesting about this. If that's what it means. Notice here that it's low, and generally speaking, it's dark. Then we come up again, and when they start going down, we start getting light. So that seems to me like we hit a low, larger players are stepping in and creating liquidity in here, and that's what's going to push us up. And then we get up here, you're not seeing the absorption yet, and that's why he thinks it could go higher, yeah? But you're right in that if they go lower again, that would stop a lot of people out. I think it's interesting here that this 13 really held for a long time, but when they touched it, they didn't actually get stops. Hmm. Oh, there is a spot where uh, is that's oil as well. Where was it? I'm having a hard time figuring out which place is where on that chart. There's a slow part. Okay. So here was where he said it's going to go higher. And it did. And then when they tested lower, there was buyers absorbing. So that means it's a pullback. That's after she goes, essentially. And it's going to go. And now you're getting it again. And they're absorbing lower. I think that means that it's going to move even higher, right? Makes it. I think what the guy is, if that's what the guy is saying, and I think it makes total sense to me. I bet you that whole like looking at the size of the order and stuff is probably something that would only work in oil. But it does look like it works. It bonds the sizes of the orders almost like doesn't matter unless it's a really big one. Because there's just so many orders of every different size, it's almost just noise. It should also state though that oil is a very different market, right? Well, that was a pretty good down tick. I'm not going to take him, but 12.5 is now the point of control. So I said if you were going to sell it, you would at the very least have to sell it at 12.5 above the, you know, the bump in the volume profile. And now it's kind of like, if you want to sell it, where are you going to sell it? And even if we get a down tick, like let's just say that here's a scenario that I've been thinking about in my head that might happen. Okay, we pierced the 13, we touched 13.5 3 times, but each time that we touched it, only a couple of orders went into it. Okay, are we then going to fall down to the other side of the range and see 110 be the bid, and kind of see what happened when we took our entry earlier, you know, where it looks like an as she goes at 11, and then I sell it there, and then what happens? Well, just based on the kind of action that we're in, I think that you see a couple of stops go off and it turn around. Yeah. So it's like, where can you actually sell it at this point? Does that make sense? The E-mini. Look at that. And I said, no, the E-mini could just range and chop. And that's exactly what happened. Well, I think that if I pull this up, how long was I in that? I was in that for 1 hour and 5 minutes. I think that I should have taken it off at 7. If I had done that, I would have gotten... I may have only lost 1 tick. But it seems to me that if you don't get your move in 30 minutes, that it's just not going to happen. Or there's going to be some other pivot at some point. So if you're waiting for a pivot and it's been 30 minutes and it doesn't happen, you should probably just give up. You're wrong at that point. That's my conclusion from that trade. And I mean, I've kind of always... you should not have closed that position. Okay, so let's talk about that in a second. But it's just my experience has been that my trades tend to be 30 minutes. And I don't think I've ever held one longer that ended up being a winner. So we'll see. Now KK says you should not have closed that position. So you're saying, yeah, chasing big orders is a mistake in any market. Oh, you guys are saying so many things I want to talk about. If I where did I close it at? 12? No, I closed it at 13. I closed it at 13. So you're right in that I would still, it's still below that, right? So Keith was saying chasing big orders is a mistake in any market, in my opinion. So there is one thing that we have seen or that we've messed around with, and that is when we see those block orders come in, right? And what have we learned from the block orders? Sometimes he wins and sometimes he loses. and I'd say that since we started seeing that, and in the course of the larger term perspective, I'm going to say that it's about 50-50 whether or not he wins or loses. But I think it's worth looking at them because sometimes based on the context, you can know if he's going to win or lose, Like there have been some places where we were seeing a trend starting and you saw the block order in there and you got in with the block order and that was a really good place. So I did a study where I looked at icebergs. So I took these one range charts and I just said, how many buys versus sells happened in that bar. Excuse me. And so I was looking for a bar where it took a ton to buy up through it or to sell through it or whatever it was, right? And I had two, I had the same thing, but I was looking at it twice. And one was all orders and one was big orders. And then I did a little bit of analysis on it. And overall, first of all, over the long term, over a year, looking at, trading against the icebergs, there's not any edge either for or against it. That again is random. But then if you looked at it as okay, what about when you see the big orders versus when you don't? And the thing that I found on that study, and I had actually heard Pete make this comment in the Jigsaw video before, so I think it just kind of confirmed what he said, but there wasn't really an edge in saying if there was a big order, that big order tends to win or tends to lose. But there was an edge when you saw a move and you didn't get the big orders. Like if we moved up a tick or two ticks and I haven't seen any 1000s in here, that's an indication that it might come back. Yeah. But yeah, if it's a coin toss, why gamble on the coin toss? Well, you're right. It's you don't want to gamble on it. So you shouldn't say, "Oh, I saw a block buy, I should buy too." Definitely not. But if we are moving up on a strong trend and you see a block buy, and it depends on where in the range it is. Because if we're up towards the top of the range, I've actually found that might reverse there, and so that one I kind of let it do its thing. But if I was sitting here and I saw a block sell at 12, maybe not in this case. If we had come up to when we were at the 13.5, 13, and then there was a 12.5, and there was a block sell there, and then people started hitting the 12, I would probably hit 12 too. It's just contextual. It's like, to me the block order is an indication that somebody really big wanted to do something. And generally speaking, I think that they either had to do it or they want everybody to see it. And I don't know, like there are situations where I think you can make a read out of it, but most of the time that you see it, you probably shouldn't take a trade. I know this like looks really great short still to me. I still wish that I was in the trade, even though it definitely broke my risk. I mean, I guess who was it that said earlier I shouldn't have gotten out? I think it was KK, wasn't it? Oh yeah, by the way, AMP futures is when you should go, where you only have to open, you only need 500 to open it up. That's what I use, is I use AMP with rhythmic data. I mean, if my stop was at 13, they traded through it, don't get me wrong, they traded through it. They went through my stop, and it was a legit stop. And I set my risk, and the trade was wrong, and I have to follow this trading plan, and you know, it shouldn't go more than 4 ticks against me. So what we could say was maybe I should have taken that trade off earlier. I think now that we're able to look at it afterwards, we can say that probably, okay, that's true. But the way that things were, it was just not clear enough to me to be able to make that determination. So I think that saying we're just gonna, we still have a set risk is okay. But yeah, you were short on the lower side of the range on a day, which can be expected to range with well, not quite. So understand, Tucker, that this range that we see in the volume profile right now did not exist when I took the trade. So, in fact, I think when I took the trade, I think that 110 was still like the point of control. I could be wrong about that, but that's just how much volume has gone through up here since then. It's like a real bubble up. Well, this one, I've seen this one before. And if I can get filled here, because the level 2 was roughly equal there. This is one that I've tested and works really well in ZB, but we're still, the jury is still out on as to whether or not it works on Z. And last time I tried it, I just didn't get filled. My bird sounds super upset today for some reason. Oh, that one's not Jerry. That's why. That one's the baby. That's the baby. And is Jerry gonna respond? Nope, he doesn't respond. That's Jerry. That's the response. The birds aren't allowed to meet each other for a month because it's a baby and it doesn't have a strong enough immune system yet. I should put this in chat so that people see that. Yeah. No, I did. Yeah, I thought, yeah. This needs to be here. Well, so I should remind you. Hold on. No, 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 no. Go and look at last FOMC. Because last FOMC, here's what happened. There was a PPI number. The PPI number really, really moved the market. It wasn't like a trendy or anything, but I think it moved the market like 8 to 10 ticks. And then I think I got a profit off of that one. And then I waited for FOMC and I thought, okay, maybe something will happen off of FOMC. And then nothing happened. So it was like the exact opposite. Well, I mean, we don't know what FOMC is going to happen, but you get what I'm saying? Like, even though the FOMC meeting, even though there's FOMC, the PPI can definitely move us. And I have seen days where the PPI moved us and the FOMC didn't move us at all. Yeah. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. That I'm sure that. Oh, hold on, let's hear what he says. Mm. Um, I think that with some more time, there probably we can figure out how we should play that, but I don't think that it's simple enough to say that there's FOMC and nothing's going to happen. And the other thing is, another thing that I would caution is that you can actually have really good moves the day of FOMC and the day before FOMC. I've seen multiple times where market didn't really seem to know what was going to come out of the FOMC meeting, and then the 3 days preceding it all resulted in big moves in one direction, and then those moves ended up predicting what was going to happen in at the FOMC meeting. I've seen that many, many times. I'd say about half the time the market makes a move that was predictive, and I think every time that I've seen it, they predicted what was going to come out of it correctly. And then the other half of the time they just don't do anything. But another question in my mind is, it seems to me that some of the meetings are different, right? Like I think in this meeting they're supposed to put out projections, so perhaps that makes this FOMC meeting more uncertain and therefore less tradable beforehand than the other ones, or something like that. Like I feel like that there's a piece missing in the puzzle that we don't have yet, you know. But you know, on the split side, you know, you can just say, hey, you have a better than random chance at predicting what the price is going to do, and we actually got a pretty good trade. Well, I mean, we got a pretty good look at it going lower, but it didn't turn out, and it's a better than random chance, but it's not going to work every time, and so it's okay. It just sometimes it just happens. Okay, good down tick. The whole week has been pretty quiet. CPI yesterday was muted, PPI was muted. Crude should be interesting. Yeah, so I'm not sure I really want to hear him talk about the oil thing really, so we'll just mute him until that's passed. So what I was going to say is, number one, there actually is a tendency to see pretty strong trends ahead of the FOMC. Like those 3 days before FOMC, it can happen. Like it can be completely dead, or you can have a strong trend. I've seen both of those happen. And decision tomorrow, so not a rule per se. Yeah, and the thing is that because it's so quiet, can actually make it a good time for somebody to try and make a move. You see why that can be? It's like if everybody thinks that it's going to range and nothing's going to happen, then that just means that there's less people out there to try and fight you, you know? And so if you want to start you have some edge that makes you know really well what is going to come out of the FOMC meeting, then you want to make your move then, and there's less chance of somebody fighting you. And because everybody thinks that it's going to be range bound, you get all of these retail traders that are easy to stop out on the trend and stuff. And it's I tell you what, it's the best trends are on days where they shouldn't happen. That's one of the things that can be so hard about them. Like you get like a Tuesday. I think the best ones is like it's a no news Tuesday. So usually there's a piece of news on Tuesday, Thursday. Well, there's always news on Thursday, right? Because it's unemployment numbers. But like Tuesday in particular, there's usually a number, but sometimes there's not. And there has, man, I think the craziest trend days that I ever saw were on a no news Tuesdays. It's just like, for whatever reason, somebody decided that was the day they were going to make the move, was when nobody was paying attention. You know? Now, with all of that said, oh, there we go, we got filled. With all that said, when it happens, it's usually within the first 30 minutes of the session. That I can recall when I see that happen, it happened within the first 30 minutes. So I think at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that there's not really much opportunity, if at all, until the FOMC meeting for sure. Yeah. So I should say here. So I need to keep this stat on this because that trade worked. Pretty cool. I was really doubtful there for a moment. It really looked like we weren't going to get filled, didn't it? I need to look at my sheet. My sheets. Do this one. I'm just gonna make a new sheet and I'm gonna say 3,000 by 3,000. I went short, and it was 1 tick profit. KK, I think you should inform in your video about Top Step Trader and OneUp that you can open an account and trade for $500 at AMP. I think that people spend thousands of dollars in trading in an attempt to get funded on a simulator, and worst of all, I think the rules make very bad traders. Now that's interesting. I want to know why you think that more, because I think that the rules they have in general are things that almost everybody should have to some extent. So I think it's really good to trade with that. But on the other hand, it seems to me that doing the combine over and over and not winning does not really, how do I say this? It doesn't seem to me that trading the combine is like super great practice. Like, I don't see people say, oh yeah, I took the combine and I failed it the first time, but I just kept at it and eventually I passed the combine. I never hear that. It's almost always like they had already been trading and they thought they had a good shot and they took it and they made it, you know? It doesn't seem to me like the rules are good for development beyond like the most beginner stages of understanding that you need to have a daily limit for yourself and things like that. So Alligator says it's insane leverage. I don't know if that's I really don't know why it seems like that is. I know that for me, well, maybe it is the profit target. You know, I think that's a good theory. I feel like that the profit target in the combine really hurts you. So it was like we were talking about, I don't know if you guys are here, you remember yesterday where we were saying, like, you don't have to be a rock star. Like, you could have periods where you're kind of break even or just maybe a slight profit for days, weeks, months. And then you're just going to get some market where you're really on and you just knock it out of the park, you know? And the Top Step combine doesn't really allow for that. I mean, yeah, you can hold the account for as long as you want, but the longer that you do it for, the you know, the longer you do it for, the more you're paying. Does not make sense to trade 15 lots if you can lose 3,000. Well, you can only trade 4 lots. But I think you're right. But to your point, KK, I have had on my list for a very long time, and I feel bad because I had a little bit of time this weekend and I just didn't make I forgot and I just didn't make the video, but I wanted to make a getting started in futures video because I wanted to tell people that, you know, how to get started, because my opinion, the way that you get started is probably you make a CQG demo first, just to see if you like it. And then if you like it, what I would do is I would buy Jigsaw and I would put $500 down and amp futures, and I would just trade sim. And I think that bleh, I'm forgetting the name of the program now. I think that the Jigsaw simulator is really great. I think it's pretty darn accurate. I think it's a pretty... there was a couple of times where I was like, oh, I don't know if that was right or it filled me in the right spot, but I went back and looked at those videos and I was wrong. The simulator did exactly what it should have done, what the real market would have done. So I'm going to say I think that the simulator is a really good way to practice. The only thing that you don't get is you don't get the emotional feeling from, you know, that you're risking all this money, you know. So that's what I would do. Get Jigsaw, get amp futures so you can get the data, and paper trade. And I wish that the model was like this. I wish that the model was you buy Jigsaw, and Jigsaw has an agreement with somebody where all Jigsaw customers can get data. Is it not quite expensive to get started with Jigsaw? Well, it's $500 to buy it, but that's it. But I just feel like it's worth it. Anyways, but you should definitely, like, you know, explore the platforms. That's all I was saying. Like, you should probably get a CQG demo first. You should maybe look around and make sure that Jigsaw really matches you and your personality. And, you know, I'm only talking about treasuries. If it was a different market, maybe Jigsaw's not the right thing for you if you're going to rely more on charts. Although I don't really see that working out, but I digress. Yeah, I wish that there was some sort of a setup where if you had purchased a Jigsaw, you could get data. And maybe it's just for like a reduced fee or something, but just some way so that if you had bought Jigsaw, it's easier for you to get that demo data and trade on sim for a long time. And then you can trade on sim, you can show up on the leaderboard, okay? And if you're trading on sim and you're doing really well on the leaderboard, then there's a possibility that some funding guy out there sees you and gives you money to trade with. Yeah. And if not, you save up until you're confident enough and you can go live. Now there's some things with that. I think the thing that some people will disagree with is it seems like there's a lot of people, and I do think that there are good reasons that they believe this, but I think there's a lot of people that think that, you know, the sooner you can get off sim, the better, because it's not live trading. It's not the same emotions, and I think that's true. But I personally think that, you know, having gone through this, that what you can learn trading sim is really, really valuable, and you should really take advantage of it and before you start risking your own capital. And you know, there's too much pressure on people for some reason to get out there and start losing money. and I'm saying, why can't we just be casual about it, right? Like, I know it's a lot of time and a lot of hard work for nothing, but I personally enjoy it, so why not just make it easier for somebody to buy Jigsaw, trade demo for several months. Basically, you pay a monthly fee, but the only thing you're paying for is the data, really. And it should only be like, you know, $50 a month or something like that. Something real cheap. Should be cheap. Some special deal. I don't know. Maybe you could see something like that through Trade-O-Vate in the future. Because Trade-O-Vate, it's $100 a month, right? So this is probably your cheapest deal, but you still have to put money down. Like, you still have to have enough money to start an account with their account minimums. I don't know what it is. Okay, well, I mean, Look at this in the 5-year. Came down. Really fell off there. Really feels like it would have been nice to have kept that, and maybe we would be close to breaking even and possibly even getting a look. But I'm still concerned about this thing that I was saying earlier, where what if we go to 110, we break it, and it decides to flip on us? Because that seems like that would be a really good trick for them to play on us. And really, if they were going to be trading off of that news, they should have done it by now. Yeah. Wow. So Tucker's saying, I think demo trading can be crippling to a trader too. If you think you're absolutely killing it on demo, you'll hit a harsh reality once you go live. So it would depend on why you're absolutely killing it, right? If you're actually making really great trades, and then when you go over to live, you just don't trade your strategy, or you don't trade your strategy as well because of the emotional impact, then that's one thing. But what I've found is more likely is that when people do demo trading, that they get one of two things. Everybody kills it on demo because they always trade differently when money is on the line. I'm not so sure about that, but let me come back to that point. Obviously, the system is completely automated. You can turn the switch on and off at the same time, but you get my point. Yeah. So here's why I think that you would see somebody absolutely kill it in demo and then have trouble live, aside from the emotional impacts, okay? Number one, they're taking advantage of the simulator. So that can definitely happen in Rhythmic. There are places where you can get a fill and you could take like a 2-tick profit off of it when there's no way you would have ever gotten filled like that in real life. And the way that you do it, just so that you know, if you want to go and because the Top Step Trader Simulator does this and you can kind of mess with it, if you know there's a spot and you put your order in way ahead of time, every time that this level 2 changes and some pulls off, they assume that the orders pulling off are in front of you. And so you can get to a situation where you're probably actually, when you put the order in, you're probably 5,000th in queue. But because this level 2 had changed so many times, and it thought that those ones coming off were always in front of you, it thinks you're at the front of the queue when you're really still at the back. And so you would get instantly filled even if like 100 go through, and right? So that's the one thing that I see happens. But the second thing that I think happens, and probably the more common one, is that you had a strategy or you were doing something that worked really well for that one particular market, and then the market changed. And so what really happened was you did well, you felt confident, so you went live, and about the time that you start to feel confident is about the time that the market is going to change. And then the market starts doing the exact opposite of what you were doing, and you start doing absolutely terrible. And you can see this, I mean, this happens to me on the Combine many times. It's just the way that the market works. It seems like when you feel like, I would say like, okay, let's get a little bit of a streak going first, and then we'll start the Combine again. And it was always like that was when the market changed. And so then I stopped doing that, and then the results became more random. Then I realized that it really wasn't me, it was the market was changing. So there's that. So then going back to that other point that you were saying, like, obviously if a system is completely automated, you can turn the switch on and off at the same time, but you get my point, right? Okay. I would say that for trading, habit is better than discipline. Does that make sense? Like, if you can trade simulated and you have certain rules, like, okay, if I have a stop, I'm going to take my stop. I'm never going to take more than a four tick loss. For instance, that's a rule, right? And you've practiced doing that, or you have an entry that, you know, when it's in this certain situation, I'm going to buy it because I know that I have an edge that says that I should buy it. You buy it, you get to the point where it's almost a reflex that you're going to click it, right? And having that reflex is better than, you know, being able to think consciously about it, and, you know, you have your emotions and stuff, but you're strong enough to overcome them, and you know what I mean? So I think one of the benefits, it can also hurt you because you can develop bad habits. But I think one of the things that can help you on the move between demo and live is that if you just have those habits so ingrained into you from the demo, when you go to live, you should still have the reflex. You should still just do the thing because it's so much habit. And if you don't feel like that your trading is starting to become like a habit, then you might have a harder time. Yeah. You're probably still going to have problems when you move over to live. I think everybody screws up at the very first when they go live. Almost everybody, I think. I need some water because I've been talking so much, so I'm going to go get some more water. Yeah. So I was gonna say, I just can't advocate for demo. This doesn't. I mean, it doesn't sound like you were on demo for that long, really, were you, Tucker? I mean, it's a little different. I understand on that one because you've had a live account now for a while, and you did have a little bit of a drawdown at the beginning, but you've been doing okay now for the past month or two. But you know, it's a little bit different for somebody that, and this isn't me, but there are people like this out there that have been trading for years and years and years and still haven't been able to find an edge and still aren't able to be profitable with it. And that does happen. And that person can be out thousands of dollars trying in the process of figuring it out. And at that point, how can you not say that, hey, maybe you should have done it on demo? You know what I mean? Like, I think at the very least that you should have something that has worked for a certain amount of time on demo before going live. And it probably depends on what your strategy is. Like, I think if you have a range bound strategy, because even in a trend, there's going to be a place where your range bound strategy can get something, right? Like, you could wait for the pullback and take it there, for instance, right? So if you have a range bound strategy, and it's a good one, don't get me wrong, because some of the discussions that we've had earlier has been like specific trades, and that's where I've been saying, well, for these specific trades, they tend to go through it, and it's just only recently that they haven't been. But if you just have an in general range bound strategy set up, you could probably go live a lot sooner, I think, because I just feel like that kind of a strategy is going to be more consistent. It's going to have smaller drawdowns, right? Whereas if you're someone like me that just does really, really well on the trends, that's a strategy. It's going to have longer drawdowns. It's going to be less consistent. And you might think that you have a profitable strategy, but that kind of strategy is more likely to fail in a certain type of market. And so you might think that you're profitable when you're not. I think that's the one that kills people. It's just like, people think, oh, I got 2 weeks was profitable, that means I'm good to go now. Or, oh, hey, I got like a month that was all profitable, I think I'm ready. I think my strategy is definitely for sure golden and I should go full bore with it. And no, I feel like if you can get through a whole year and you're profitable, then you can say that for sure. You know? Because we can see here with me, I can have 3 months of really, really good performance and then 3 months of really bad performance. And I feel like I'm pulling it out now, but still not sure. There's still some questions here. There's still a couple of things that I think we need to have a little bit more experience with to say that we will overcome them, but that's how it goes. So I'm not able to stick around until 9:30 today because I'm working everything. I'm working from home today. So we can chat about anything else. Anyways, I'm gonna make a video because a lot of people just don't seem to know how to get started with futures. It's a really big undertaking when you've never heard of it before. So I'm definitely gonna make a video. I forget. You know what? This weekend, I bought Quake Champions, and I started playing Quake. Tell you what, I've been playing Quake since I was like 6, for like 15 years now. So once you get into it, and yeah, it's just kind of like the relaxing thing for me, and I just completely forgot about everything else that I wanted to do or had going. And I forgot to do that video. Peter thinks demo is very bad too, huh? Okay, they went right back up to 13. Wow. Something that was interesting with that one was that when we went down, we really started to see a move down in cumulative delta. Look, it made a slightly lower low in cumulative, or sorry, slightly higher low in cumulative delta, and then popped back up. And there in the 5-year, something crazy business happened there. Was there a piece of news? Did something cause that kind of move up, or was that just the kind of the usual 9 o'clock move? Let's see here on TweetDeck. I don't see anything. Well, ZF definitely got a rush up there. I don't know what caused it though. It just looks like it was just trading. So there's kind of enough of a rush up that I kind of want to take it long now, but it really doesn't make much sense, in my opinion, to take any trades at this point. Took that one tick winner because I saw the signal and it was range bound, so it was the kind of action where that kind of trade should do okay. I'm glad that it worked. Happy about that. Sure. Yeah, I like what Dive says. Of course, demo is useful if you realize that it's not a substitute for all aspects of trading. Yes. See, the notion out there that I just really vehemently disagree with is the idea that trading on demo is hurtful. I think that the amount of money that you're probably going to save by trading demo for a really long time far outweighs the supposedly disadvantages of it. And like the thing is, demo doesn't really give you a high learning curve. I don't know. Like the thing is it's just like if you're not being successful on demo, you're not going to be successful live. Just straight up. So why should anybody go to live if they don't already have a decent amount of experience under their belt in demo? I just don't understand that. Well, that was a stop run, my friends. Yep. They're gonna touch the high now? Hmm. BOC Deputy Governor Lee Duck to leave in late July? Rate of US dollar hinges on Fed forecasts? I don't know. This is kind of weird. But I think I better stay out. Maybe somebody take along there. I couldn't say if you should or you shouldn't, but I think for me, I need to stay out of this one, so. I can totally advocate losing money. Don't start demo unless you don't have money. Demo is just horrendous. Oh, I can't agree with that. Sorry. I mean, obviously, you have to have a certain amount of money to get started because you have to pay for the platform and everything. But you know, you don't have money. Maybe you're gonna have money in 3 years. That's a lot of experience that you can get looking at the DOM. And you're saying that all of that experience is worthless or is harmful. I just don't see it that way. And I'd like to see the person where they were on demo for a really, really long time. And then they finally were successful enough on demo to go to live trading, and then they were unsuccessful in live trading for a really long time too. And if they had just gone over to live trading, that they would have straight over to live trading, that they would have been successful. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. It's just like, why do you want people should have to lose money on it? I'll tell you what, I've seen so many, the reason why I feel the way that I do is because I've definitely seen people come in here, very often people that really thought they knew what they were doing, come in and make trades that I thought were really foolish, and watched them lose a lot of money. And every time that happens, I always look at it and I'm like, you should have just given that money to me, because I could lose it a lot slower than you just did right there, right? I do not want to tell what it has cost me to become a profitable trader. Yeah, wow. It's just I feel like that the industry tries to pressure you into life because they want to take your money. That's how I feel. Like, I think that the brokerages intentionally made their demos wrong. Like with the rhythmic one, this is like really simple. Like, if stuff pulls, it's not in front of you ever. Like, never ever. So if you were 5,000 in line, 5,000 have to trade before you get filled. That would be more harsh than what the market actually does, and it's easier to program than what they have in there. So I can only make one conclusion off of that. They want you to think that you're better than you really are on demo, right? I think that the broker is trying to sell a product. And I think that the brokers kind of intentionally create this, like, well, you shouldn't take demo and you shouldn't practice. Like, if you went to a prop firm, not that they really exist like this anymore, but back in the day, my understanding is that you had to have a certain amount of performance on demo before they made you go live. In most cases, I'm sure it was probably different everywhere, but the stories that I've heard from people, they said that you had to be on demo for a certain amount of time, and then if they went live and they had a certain losing streak, they had to go back to demo. So it's kind of interesting to see how ZN has ticked here, because we basically got a stop run and maybe a one tick pullback and then another stop run. Wow. KK. I'm so sorry. But you are being profitable now. You were saying for a good year, didn't you? No, that was somebody else that said that. How long have you been profitable for, KK? 5 years. Wow, KK, that is so cool. My account today is 5% of my first live account, but I have a profit of about $4,000 a month. I have soon earned the loss back if we ignore the taxes. Everyone's financial situations are different. You eventually have to make the jump. Just don't get trapped on demo striving for perfection, because it's not going to happen. Even junior prop traders start out on demo. Wow, that was a really great replay, Keith. I had never seen that Axia video before. I'm going to have to watch that later. But I'm really impressed. KK, you should you should write a really long story, and you should go into what your problems were when you started out. Like, what were the things that you were doing wrong, and what were the things that you changed in your strategy or how you developed into that, and show people. I think that, and go and post that on the Futures IO board or something like that, because I think that a lot of people could benefit from hearing that. This action we're getting is really interesting. I want to FOMO so hard, but I'm not going to. In fact, I got 10 minutes before I have to be on call and start working, and then I'll be back for the announcement. So we'll be back 15 minutes before the announcement. I'm just going to cut it off here since I'm not going to take a trade. So and yeah, so we'll do that, and I will see you guys in a few hours, all right?